You're here because you've been feeling imposter syndrome. There's a voice inside of you that knows that you are meant for more, that you could teach, that you could help, that you could show up, that you could be an expander for people. But then there's also that little voice inside of you that's telling you, who are you to say this? You're not good enough. You don't know what you're talking about. What if you forget what to say? What if you look silly? And this is holding you back. And the problem is when this holds you back from your potential, when this makes you leave money on the table, when this leaves you in a state where you know exactly what to do, but you're not doing it. So in this video, I want to walk you through how to overcome imposter syndrome. And in the next video, I'm also going to give you an EFT tapping session to help you release imposter syndrome completely. So what is imposter syndrome? What my belief is that imposter syndrome shows up when you're comparing yourself to other people, when you're believing that you have to look like someone else, act like someone else, have the exact same experience as someone else in order to create some kind of success. So what I encourage you to do is, rather than thinking you have to be like someone else in order to create success, I want you to look at your self-image and start to identify that who you are and how you are and your experience and your understanding and where you are in your life. That is the epitome of success. So you need to start to affirm to yourself, you need to start to believe that who you are is the epitome of success. And this is something that I told myself when I was just starting out. I reminded myself that even though there might be people that are smarter than me or that have a degree or that might be further ahead or whatever it is, people actually love to see the underdog win. So even if you've had a tough past, maybe you're like me and you grew up in an abusive home, maybe you've had to overcome other things, people will actually love to see you win as an underdog and want to support you. So remember that. Now let's talk about comparing yourself. So a lot of the time when someone comes to me and they say that they're feeling imposter syndrome, the reason for this is because they want to be a coach, they want to be an entrepreneur, a teacher, a podcaster, or whatever it is. And they're telling themselves, I don't know enough. What if I say something and it's wrong? What if I say something and I look silly? And so what I encourage you to do there is, again, don't try to be something you're not, but just think about what is your unique experience, what is the path that you've walked through, what is your expertise and what is your knowledge, and then think about who you were a few years ago. So maybe who you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and just focus on helping that version of you or someone who is currently living the life that is that version of you. And therefore, you don't need to have all the answers in the world. You just have to be able to help where you were a few years ago. What is the advice that you needed to hear to help me move forward? What are the teachings or the lessons or whatever it is that you needed to know to move forward? And this is where you actually have an advantage, because think about it. Somebody who's at the very top of the industry, they're a lot of the time going to be giving high level insights and things that are not actionable because they're so far away from being there in their life. Whereas you've just been there. The learnings are literally fresh. So you can actually help the people who are a few steps behind you with really actionable tools and actionable knowledge. So instead of trying to be something that you're not, lean into everything that you are. A lot of the time, imposter syndrome comes up when we're focusing on ourselves, when we're thinking about, what will people think of me? What if I look silly? What if I look stupid, etc., etc. And so I encourage you to focus on who it is that you know you're meant to help, right? Because if you're going into it from the selfish perspective, the ego perspective of I have to look amazing, that's not helping anybody. But if you're thinking, if I post this or I put this out there and this just changes one person's life today, it was so worth it. And so that's what I did when I was first starting. And I would also ask myself, how can I love my community today? Because when you put something out with love, that love is felt. And oftentimes people don't need the latest technology or the latest insight to move forward. They just need to hear that someone believes in them. They just need to hear that something is possible for them. So take the onus off you and how you look and really dive into the person who you know you're meant to help. Or again, you a few years ago, giving yourself the advice that you needed to hear a few years ago, and focus in on that. I'm a big believer in the universal laws. And so I'm a big believer of the law of divine oneness. Whatever you put out is going to come back to you. It's inevitable. It's like the law of cause and effect. Whatever you put out, it's inevitable that it's going to come back to you. So whatever it is that you're putting out into the world, put it out in an energy of love, of compassion, of generosity, and that same love, compassion, generosity, and abundance is going to flow back to you in abundance. So I hope that these free tips helped you with releasing imposter syndrome. I have so much more that I share with my community. If you want a free bundle of exercises that help you tap into abundance, then just look down below. I have a free bundle that has an EFT tapping session, a meditation, a scripting tool that helped me get to my first 6-figure month, and so much more to help you tap into the energy of abundance. And I'll see you in my next video where I lead you through an EFT tapping session to release imposter syndrome.